Mike sounds better, so it's got. I'm going to start with a funny one because it's probably the only one you're going to get. Funny, yeah. Black, yeah. Cynical, oh yes. This is called 12 Lines on a Dead Cyclist, so it goes out to all the cyclists, and if you've got children who cycle, remember this. We've all seen it, scary sight, black hoodies up, 10:30 at night. Compound the error, ride on the right, cycle 2 up, without a light. His epitaph read, as well it might, he died because he wasn't very bright. Cheers. Yes, the innate cynicism of watching idiots on bicycles at that time of night. And then they drive around, they cycle around blind bends and wonder why cars can't see them. But there you go. Yeah, the referendum. I will quite happily stick my hand up and say I voted out. And I'm glad we're out because it stops one of the most horrendous forms of racism that this country has ever seen. This is about that. It's called As Middle England Sleeps. As Middle England sleeps, Ahmed pulls himself into the back of the trunk. His destination is the United Kingdom, and he has come so far. He had watched from the shadows as his family had been put to death in front of him for his father's crime, criticising an army general. He has a brother in the UK, but every time his family had applied for visas to join him, they'd been turned down. Now he sleeps in the back of a refrigeration unit. He'd run, crossing deserts, crossing mountains, crossing continents, fighting to stay alive as they'd crossed the sea. He'd managed to escape the guards' clutches when they'd been pulled out of their boat and taken ashore, and he'd kept on running, begging when he could, stealing when he couldn't. Now, less than 20 miles to freedom, exhaustion catches up with him as Middle England sleeps. Fatima tries to hold her daughter out of the water as the relentless waves become more powerful. She clings to the wreckage of the boat that was taking them to freedom. They had come so far, running for their lives as her family dies, put to death in front of them for not being of the same religion as their invaders. She has no one left but her daughter, for she's never met her cousin, but she prays he will help them when she gets to the UK. They had run from the murderous fanatics who had invaded their land. She'd sold her body 4 times for the money to get the pair of them on the boat, and she was ashamed. Before God, she had to do something, and she had done so. Now she clings to its wreckage while holding her 3-year-old child out of the water, praying for a miracle as Middle England sleeps. They found Ahmed when they opened the back of the truck. His passport was still stitched into his tattered jacket, so they knew who he was. He had been dead 30 minutes after the refrigeration unit had been turned on. The frozen corpse of what had once been a man who had run for his life to be with his only remaining family as Middle England sleeps. Fatima's body was washed ashore 3 days later. A fisherman had seen the wreckage of a boat and had towed it to shore to show the authorities. Just another piece of wreckage, probably belonging to the people smugglers on the far shore. But nobody would ever know the truth, only God and the fish. Just another corpse, floating in the waters as Middle England sleeps. Rajan held his wife's hand. Mihaela was trembling. They were leaving their home. In 24 hours, they'd be in their new adopted homeland. Rajan hadn't found a job, but he did not need one. The UK's benefit system and their begging would support them. He'd make sure he saved as much as he could to send back home for his father to build the villa he'd promised Mihaela. As Middle England sleeps. Cheers. Yeah. I want to do one about what I was talking about earlier, children. 2 of these are ours. That one and that one. That's Sybil, Mariama. That's little Miss Ali, Jalika. Currently barred from the country. We got the usual reply when you try and get African children in. If you come in, we don't think you're going back, so you're not coming in. And this was just for a holiday. And if you notice, they're wearing Ramones t-shirts. Now, there's a story about that, which is what I'm going to talk about. They didn't know who the Ramones were. The Ramones aren't played on West African radio, but they listened to some on the computer and they liked one of the tracks, so they rewrote it. Because I said, make it more African, so they did. I didn't expect them to rewrite all the words, but they loved the intro, so that's what got them going. So there you go. It all started with those t-shirts. It all started with those t-shirts that we gave the kids that day. They like their rock band t-shirts because they like to sing and play, but their culture being different, they didn't know the band. The Ramones aren't played on African radio, they're not represented in their land. So it started with those t-shirts and who are the Ramones? And can we listen to something? This is music we don't know. It isn't rap or reggae and it's not what we would do, but it's got a beat and it's got a heart and a really good intro too. So I told them all to go away and to see what they could do. Without guitars, they're up against it. Drums and shakers might not do. We'll see if they can come up with something they could play as the time signatures of Western rock are alien to them anyway. But they went and rewrote the whole damn song. Kept some key lines in for reference. They're happy with the words they wrote, which have really made a difference. Their song is now from Africa. They've made it all their own. It comments upon their neighbours who left their countries to find new homes, dying by the boatload because the EU won't let them in. And they all know some who didn't make it. Their village has its fair share of them. 6 months later, they've got an arrangement. And that took quite a bit of work, minutes snatched when they got back from school after doing their homework. And this one uses voices, a tambourine, shaker and a drum. But their attitude has changed somewhat. The song isn't sung for fun. It's sung to fight injustice. It's sung to illustrate the plight of those who have to go the back way, who do not have the right to even visit parents who live in the UK. Like those 3 girls from the Gambia who rewrote that song that day. But now they're up on YouTube for the whole wide world to see, to put to shame the UK government and their apartheid policy. And it all started with those t-shirts and who are the Ramones? But it's now become a battleground to bring our children home. For we've not stopped fighting either. One day this injustice has to stop from the mouths of babes and children. Blood sisters, Blitzkrieg Bob. Cheers. If you look them up, you can find them on YouTube, you can watch them. And if you want to pay £3, you can get a copy of it, because I've got CDs for sale over there, because I'm a tart. But I'm also dad, and they've got the band, and you know, you've got to help them out. And if I can get the machine to work, I'm going to sort of end with this for a bit. Are we going back for seconds after?
Yeah, you're going back.
We're going back for seconds, all right, I'm going to end with this one. If I can get that little machine over there to work, because this one involves me and the children. It would be nice to play with my backing band, but since they're not here, we've got to do it electronically. Excuse me a bit. You must answer as you wake up here today is one of, are you willing to turn your face away as the governments of this continent where fear and graft hold sway sell off their people's birthright in Africa today? That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Corruption born of ignorance in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Democracy's rank hypocrisy tells lies to this day as the liberals give to charity and the pious kneel to pray. It might seem to count for something, but it means less anyway than the yokes and chains of slavery kept on Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Freedom always out of reach in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Warlords seeking power, whose names changed by the day, steal the wealth of nations, but don't have much to say as they rape and kill their people through tribal jealousies, creating yet more refugees from Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Old hatreds brought right up to date in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Where religion equals power, blood cannot be washed away, and men with guns and men with beards want everything their way. To justify their barbarism and to stay in power this day, they'll tell you it's the will of God in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Where extremists fan the fires of hate in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Bombs go off in shopping centres, the innocent will pay. Give shelter to the terrorists is the new Pan-African way. What's the use in sending aid when leaders look the other way? Murderers escaping justice in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Sanctimonious hypocrisy from Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Tin pot dictators rule the roost armies, back them all the way. Frightened of the coup d'etat brought them to power that day. While critics of their regimes are imprisoned every day and journalists sleep with crocodiles in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Another step back to the past in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. The UN wrings its hands again and the West just turns away from the poverty and violence on their TV screens this day. Tragedy follows massacre, bodies rotting where they lay or buried in a shallow grave in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. A small paragraph in a newspaper from Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. The West buys up the mining rights for a fraction of their worth. Shareholders pack the boardrooms full of jollity and mirth. A continent in bondage hardly matters anyway when blood diamonds adorn supermodels in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today, when the Swiss franc is worshipped as a god in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Bribery and corruption go hand in hand with power. Politicians, judges and the police getting richer by the hour. There's always someone out there who needs a problem to go away. Solutions all come at a price in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today, where rich men can all distort the truth in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Progress advancing slowly, fear of change gets in the way. The hospitals are full of those who are dying day by day. A short life full of hardship is still the village way when witch doctors sprinkle herbs around in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today, where wealth is spent on arms, not health in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. But light escapes the darkness, and it won't be swept away. Sent round the world from mobile phones to your computer screen this day. The truth is there for everyone, a fact no one can gainsay. You cannot hide the atrocities now in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. A change is really going to come in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. There's a generation growing up who has something to say. They've seen the errors of the past and they know a better way. With the empowerment of women they get stronger every day, and they'll lead the revolution in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today, where the stone has started rolling in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. For now their children go to school as happy as can be. Education gives them all the means to cast off their slavery. Mama Lion is awake and her cubs yearn to be free, so she'll fight until the gates of hell in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Where the drums now beat for freedom in Africa today. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Tear off the chains that tie you down. Just cast them away. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. The hopes and prayers of all free men are with you on this day. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. Where the drum now beats for freedom. That's Africa today. That's Africa today. The drum now beats for freedom.